Welcome to another reaction. This time it's a little bit different rather than doing an anime. And since there's nothing else to do today, and it is a Wednesday, hump day, kind of slow day today. So I thought I'd take a look at the preview for Game of Thrones Episode 3, Season 8, right? It's the final season. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. And for episodes 1 and 2 were great. Actually, when I went through those two episodes, when I was watching those, I really thought that it was more of a throwback type of like that slow conversational style that we got used to over like seasons 1 through 6, where there was action, but the action was more like punctuated. It was more to make a point. It kind of had like a purpose rather than just being thrown in for no reason. Not to say that season 7 really had that as a problem. I thought the problem in season 7 was, as a lot of people would say, I'm not really coming up with this on my own here, is that the time scales were so just out of whack that it kind of made it difficult to keep track of what was happening where. Like characters who were in a completely different place like 5 minutes ago would show up in Winterfell all of a sudden. You're like, wait, what happened? And other characters would show up like where the Dragon Queen is, and be like, wait, how did that happen? And then like there's this dude, Gendry ran for like 3 days. Apparently it took them like a month to get up there into the north, but he just ran and they were just fighting off White Walkers the whole time he was running. These are just kind of boilerplate complaints about season 7 that everyone has. They're not anything really specific, but I thought season 8, I think the fear was with season 8 that we would kind of continue that and we wouldn't be able to really like flesh out all the threads that need to be fleshed out before the show comes to a close, because remember, this is the final season, and I think they said there's only going to be 6 episodes, and all the 6 episodes are supposed to be longer than usual. Usually they're like between 50 and 55 minutes, but the first 2 have been like 58 minutes so far. And season 3 or episode 3 of season 8 is supposed to be even longer. It's supposed to be like an hour and a half, which is basically a movie at that point. So you're getting a whole movie. In this week, you have to just make room for a movie. Like, I guess they didn't ask people whether you have time, because they know you're going to make time. This is kind of a cultural event par excellence. There's nothing really else matching this at this point. I think maybe Breaking Bad, like season 5, the second half of season 5, maybe could have matched this. Not matched this, but that's the only thing that we can kind of compare it to in terms of a cultural event that people talk about. Maybe a few like award shows where something extremely weird or out of the ordinary happened. Other than that, I can't really think of anything that people were so ready to talk about the next day after it happens, right? Because if you're one of those people where if you're sitting on Monday morning and you haven't already watched the episode last night, or for some reason you DVR'd it, or you haven't gotten around to it for some reason, stay off of all of your socials. Don't go on Twitter, don't go on Facebook, don't go on anything, because people will be discussing this like to the end of the world. They'll be discussing all the ramifications about everything. Obviously for... I don't know if you know, but Time Warner is a pretty litigious company, so the thought of doing a reaction to one of the episodes kind of makes me nervous. I'm pretty sure I'll get like 45 copyright strikes in 13 seconds if I do that, so we're going to kind of keep it PG and just do this trailer, and I'm not going to use too much footage from the trailer too, because, people are crazy out here. So without further ado, let's look at this trailer for Season 8, Episode 3, which I think is being directed or being done by the same people who did the Battle of the Bastards, which is probably the biggest spectacle we've seen so far, and really the moment I think where Jon Snow was like became the crowd favorite was when he stood at the end of that and we were like, oh crap, okay, this is really serious right now. So without further ado, here's the trailer for Season 8, Episode 3. Couple notes. First thing, Grey Worm's storyline I thought was really cool that they brought in Grey Worm, because he's really been sitting on the bench for a little bit. Season 7, we got no Grey Worm at all. And I really think that's the difference between Season 8 and Season 7, is that Season 8 is really taking the time to flesh out these storylines that we haven't heard from in like a long time, right? And this is something that George R.R. Martin gets like criticized for as well, is that he has so many storylines going on at any one point that his books, as he moves on along the series, they become so dense that even he can't figure out what to do with them. But I am glad that we're not waiting for George to finish the books for these shows to come out, because if we were doing that, not only would the show lose all momentum, continuity would completely be lost. The cast would be, we have to recast it every time, because he takes like 5-6 years to write a book. There's at least 2 more books coming after this one. God knows when that last book will come out, or if it will ever come out. Let him live a long life. The book fans are praying constantly. The Grey Worm storyline, they only added a little bit of spice at the end of the last episode where they showed him and Missandei just like talking, and they were like, oh, do you really want to be here? in the north, and the people were just looking at them, and I was like, we haven't really gone in this direction a lot. There hasn't been like this xenophobic card played, because the north, as we know, is like historically just poised against outsiders, right? And they even say it like when Sansa and Daenerys are talking, they're like, hey, the north is not going to accept you, right? In history, the north hasn't really accepted anyone. So like, why would you expect the north to accept you? Instead of dealing with this headache, you know I'm on your side, just let me handle the north, right? That was the conversation that Sansa and Daenerys had, and I think probably a sensible sentiment for Sansa to have, because for some reason, Sansa in this season has just become like a straight up next level political strategist, and she's out here like trying to maneuver things and set up deals before the battle even happens, right? And we know from the end of episode 2 that the White Walkers are on the very edge of Winterfell. Like, they were looking at Winterfell, so you get that like imminent sense of danger, and she's still out here trying to maneuver and get Jon to be the king of the north, or Sansa to be the king of the north, depending on who ends up doing what, I guess. So that's crazy. Good job, Sansa. But I just think the season 8 is doing a really good job of fleshing out these alternate storylines, which we've seen or have been present for a long time, but really haven't been like dove into in like 4 seasons, or 2 or 3 seasons at least. Oh snap. Okay, let's take a look at this. First of all, this very scale of this battle, I don't know how many extras they're using in this, and generally the technique they use to create these giant crowd shots is that like they have like 100 extras or whatever, and then just reposition them so that they don't look the same when they tile them over each other. But there are so many extras in this shot, I really don't know what to think. Like, the Battle of the Bastards was something else. That huge pile of bodies, I have no idea how they did that. That was like a technical achievement by itself. But this is going to be next level, because there's cavalry that the White Walkers have, and I'm sure the Winterfell people have cavalry too. So they're going to have that on top of just the amount of like technical CGI they have to do to get all those White Walkers. And we know White Walkers don't roll alone, right? They have all manner of stuff with them. Last time we saw them at the wall fighting everybody at the wall with Stannis Baratheon and everybody, they had giants, they had like all kinds of crazy stuff. So the White Walker battles never cease to amaze, like how they're able to do it in a technical sense, and how they're able to like plan out this battle and make it satisfying to watch, because otherwise we could just be watching it like thousands of people hitting each other and it wouldn't be fun at all. Wait, I've completely forgot about the dragon that they have. So not only do these people have like millions of people to fight for them, they also have like a humongous dragon. And the dragon, we don't even know what the dragon's going to do, because someone mentioned this, is the dragon is kind of the key to making the White Walkers seem even more like, making the White Walkers seem like they actually have a chance of winning. Because think about it, when you have 3 dragons and they have none, it's like you have an aerial superiority that can't be challenged, right? And we did see when the dragons came to save Jon Snow and whatever, that they were being shot at by arrows, and it did actually hurt them. And we saw Jaime Lannister like shoot a ballista or whatever, but we haven't really seen a dragon like been straight up just like destroyed by ground fire. It's more like they're just like challenged by it. It's just like they have to like take a different route or be more careful, but they're not actually, we're not actually worried. As the audience, we know that the dragon's not going to get put down by a White Walker archer, right? That's not going to happen. It's like plot armor, at least in a little bit in that regard. So when the dragons are coming down and you have 3 and they have none, it kind of makes it a little bit less scary. Like, it's like, okay, the dragons are come down, they're going to roast a whole line of people with their fire, and they're just peace out, and we're never going to see them again, and then they're untouchable when they're in the sky, right? But when they have their own dragon, and this is my theory, is that the dragon is going to be ridden by some kind of White Walker, the Night King maybe, who knows, and they come down and they start starching people with their fire, with that blue fire, and you see your own people getting roasted by dragon fire, it makes it even more scary, because then you have 2 dragons on your side. So that means if you get one hurt and you have to like put him down somewhere and not let him fight because he might die otherwise, then you have one-on-one, and that's it. Your advantage is completely gone, because we already know the White Walkers have way more numbers than the Winterfell people do, right? Even with all the people that came to help, even with Daenerys' whole thing, just because Cersei didn't send her whole shit and the Golden Company and everything, they're completely outnumbered. So all they have is dragons. That's all they have. And now that's not even an advantage anymore, you know? So let's keep watching. And that was it. That was the end of the trailer. Can't say I'm not excited for that. I am pretty excited for that. We don't really know what to expect about it. other than that there's going to be this huge battle. And what else do we really need other than that, right? They did go into this like deeper discussion between Daenerys and Sansa about like what's going to happen after the battle, and we got some hints about like the North may not be as open to being in the Seven Kingdoms as we previously thought, but that's kind of something that we assumed was going to happen already. And since this is the final season, I don't know why they're going so into depth on that part of it. We also saw that Jon talked to Daenerys about her, just so coincidentally happening to be his aunt, which was never mentioned, by the way. They were never like, so I'm your aunt? No, they never said anything like that. So I'm kind of confused why she didn't say. That would be my first reaction if someone came up to me like, hey, I'm actually your brother's son. Like, yeah, that's kind of what happened. Is it cool? Is everything cool? The first reaction would be like, wait, okay, let me go throw up a little bit first and come back and we can talk about that later. But they didn't really talk about that much. And there was no implication like, oh, hey, can we like do some kind of joint rule on this? Because that seems to be the direction in which most of the cast is heading into thinking about this, is that they want to do some kind of like co-king, co-emperor type deal, which Daenerys may not be, so down for. But Jorah did say that to her, like, oh yeah, let's have a just man and a just woman rule this. And she seemed to be open to it to some extent. And that might be the best way that this ends, if both of them just take the Iron Throne together and be like, hey, I get this Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, you get this Thursdays, Fridays, and the weekend. And be like, let's just split up this whole Seven Kingdom thing and give Sansa the North, and we won't even bother about that. That might be the best way to conclude this, but who really knows at the end of the day, right? Super hyped for episode 3. I think it's going to be one of the best episodes we've seen in the season so far. Super hyped for season 8 in general. I really like the direction they're choosing. They're going back to their roots with more of the conversational, like dialogue focused, character development focused, instead of having events happen just because they need to happen for the plot to advance. I think this is a great direction for the show in general. I wish they had done this for season 7, even if they had to delay it a year, because remember, season 8 is coming pretty late after season 7. I don't even remember when season 7 came on. That was how long ago it was. So I'm hoping this can live up to the promise of what all the hype building up to it is about, and I hope the ending is as good as we think it's going to be. I maybe won't do any more of these, we'll see, but Game of Thrones, good show. Keep watching it. Cultural event of the year. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.